Part 34. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 331. Regarding the surrender of the officials of the Shu Kingdom, Lu Feng did not have any trouble in his heart because he already had enough talents under his command. With the deaths of Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, none of the remaining generals in Shu could enter Lu Feng's sight. Not to mention the local Yazhu generals such as Meng De and Wu Lan, who are far more famous than their strength, or famous generals like Yan Yan. Compared with the Five Tigers army under Lu Feng, and the four town generals such as Zhao Yun and Dian Wei, they are completely different. Grade. The only one who could satisfy Lu Feng and reuse him was Jia Su, who was later rated as the #1 poisoner in the Three Kingdoms. Of course, in addition to Jia Su, there are two other people who are worthy of Lu Feng's slight reuse, namely Zhang Xiu, known as the Spear King of the North, and Zhang Ren, the Spear King of Shu. Like Zhao Yun, these two people learned from Tong Yuan, the great master of spear art in the world. Among them, Zhang Xiu was Tong Yuan's first disciple, Zhang Ren was the second disciple, and Zhao Yun was the close disciple. All three of them learned Tong Yuan's secret skill 100 birds chasing the phoenix spear, but the degree of learning was different. Zhang Ren, the weakest among them, only learned about half of this marksmanship, and then became the best general in Yazhu. Zhang Xiu created a set of 100 birds Chaofeng spear based on this marksmanship, and created it in Liangzhou. Make a name for yourself. As for Zhao Yun, he created his own 7 detective coiled snake spear, which was even better than his two senior brothers Zhang Xiu and Zhang Ren. However, although Zhang Ren is not as powerful as Zhang Xiu, his greater value comes from his strategy. He is not a general like Zhang Xiu, but a handsome man with both civil and military skills. When conquering the world, thousands of armies are easy to come by, but one general is hard to come by. Brave generals are easy to come by, but commanders are even more difficult to find. A commander like Zhang Ren who is loyal, upright, has excellent character, and possesses both civil and military talents is rare but hard to come by. Therefore, after gaining the allegiance of hundreds of officials in the Shu Kingdom, the only people Lu Feng really cared about were Jia Su, Zhang Xiu, and Zhang Ren. After returning to Luoyang, Lu Feng sent all Shu's demoted generals to the transfer hall for transfer to ensure their absolute loyalty. Now that Lu Feng has conquered all of Liuhe and unified the world, even if no one can rely on these people except Lu Feng, there is no guarantee that everyone really wants to be loyal to Lu Feng. Although Lu Feng has now become a Wuji warrior, even if he has not reached the state of no feather can fall, no mosquito or fly can catch him, he is not only surrounded by himself, but also has many people he values. Not to mention the queens and concubines in the harem, even the left and right prime ministers Guojia and Sun Yu, as well as the other important counselors Jia Su, Zhou Yu, Sun Yu and others, were all scribes without any military force. If these surrendered generals want to retaliate against Lu Feng, but are afraid of Lu Feng's martial arts and dare not take action, then just attacking these people will be enough to cause chaos in the Dragon Kingdom and make Lu Feng angry. Whether it is the Queen Wanyan Princess Lu Xian, the wise concubine Cai Yan, the charming concubine Diao Chan, or the wasteful Lu Linqi, they are all the people Lu Feng loves in his heart, and any injury to any one of them is enough to drive him crazy. Ministers such as Guojia and Sun Yu are indispensable for the operation and stable development of the empire in today's peaceful era. Once something happens to them, it will be enough to cause a blow to the entire Dragon Kingdom's politics. Therefore, Lu Feng had to carefully handle every official who surrendered from Wei and Shu, and let them pass through the transfer hall to ensure their loyalty. Fortunately, after the transfer, all the officials passed the test of the transfer hall, proving that they all sincerely surrendered to Lu Feng. At this point, the Dragon Kingdom began to develop steadily and rapidly after unifying the world, and with its development, the Dragon Kingdom became more and more prosperous. In this way, a few months later, Guoqia, Sun Yu, Su Shu and 11 Ji, who were also classmates and friends at Yingchuan Academy, got together to drink and chat. During the banquet, the four of them talked about the good times they had in the past, and suddenly Sun Yu sighed and said, "Everyone, have you heard about something that all the officials in the court are worried about recently?" After Sun Yu finished speaking, the three of them were stunned. Guojia's brain reaction was much slower because he drank too much, but 11's Hike and Su Shu asked at the same time what Wen Ruo said was about His Majesty's heir. Underscore fighting all over the place, working hard in peacetime, spending little time with the harem and being far away from each other. It is understandable that he has no heirs, and everyone did not care because powerful enemies were around him. But now that the world has been decided, Your Majesty has been with all the mistresses all night. So far, there seems to be no news about the pregnancy of the Dragon Queen and the Dragon Concubines. It is difficult not to worry the officials. Guojia said with a smile, "Your Majesty is just over the age of the weak, and the world is peaceful, so there is no need to be so anxious." But Su Shu had a different opinion. He said, "Even so, we should indeed make preparations. Do you have any suggestions?" After all, this was the emperor's private matter, and several people were inevitably embarrassed after hearing this. But in the end 11's Hike said, "Let us jointly submit a letter tomorrow morning, requesting His Majesty to choose a concubine." After hearing this, Sun Yu and others felt that there was really no better way, so they all nodded in agreement. In the morning of the next day, after handling the daily affairs of the court, Lu Feng was about to announce the disbandment of the court. Sun Yu and others looked at each other, and all came out and said, "Report to Your Majesty, we still have important matters to discuss." The four people from Yingchuan Academy, it can be said that they were Lu Feng's most valued advisors. When he saw them marching together, Lu Feng thought something big was going on and hurriedly asked. As a result, Guojia said, "Back to Your Majesty, last night the minister and four other people discussed together and believed that as a healthy and growing empire, it cannot be without heirs. Now our country has unified the world, but Your Majesty has no heirs yet, so we all agree that now our country's top priority is to conduct a concubine selection." After listening to Guojia's words, Lu Feng also thought of this issue. Because he was a time traveler, he had never cared about the issue of heirs before, but now that Guojia mentioned it, he also thought that in this era, having an heir would make his officials more concerted and loyal to him. Therefore, Lu Feng did not refuse, but said the words of filial piety are indeed a big deal and must be considered in advance. "I have decided to hold a nationwide draft in Luoyang 2 months later. As long as I think I can be selected, women who are concubines, regardless of their origin, can participate in the draft." After hearing this, Guojia and others fell to the ground and worshipped. "Your Majesty is wise. 3 Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace." Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 332. In fact, neither Guojia nor Sun Yu, nor 11's Hike nor Su Shu expected that Lu Feng would agree to choose a concubine so readily. After all, Lu Feng has a very deep relationship with the Dragon Queen Lu Xian, the wise concubine Cai Yan, the charming concubine Diao Chan, and the wolf concubine Lu Linqi. Since Lu Feng unified the world, in addition to daily handling of government affairs, he will stay with them whenever he has time. Moreover, the queen and the 3 concubines also had a very harmonious relationship because of Lu Feng's equal exposure to rain and dew, and there was never any jealousy, just like real sisters. So they all thought that Lu Feng would refuse to choose a concubine again in order not to break this balanced and harmonious relationship, or even out of his feelings for the mistresses. For this reason, the 4 of them discussed until midnight yesterday, just to be able to persuade Lu Feng for different reasons when he refused, and they simply slept for half an hour until dawn. As a result, the countermeasures they discussed all night were of no use at all. Lu Feng agreed without the slightest hesitation, so that the 4 of them jointly proposed the selection of a concubine, but Su Shu, Sun Yu, and 11's Hike did not even have a chance to speak. Despite this, Lu Feng was able to agree so readily without any hassle, which was enough to make Sun Yu and the others happy. In fact, when Guojia mentioned the choice of concubine, all the officials below were excited. Because they are really worried about the future of the Dragon Kingdom. After all, the main reason why the Han dynasty is gradually weakening is that foreign relatives and eunuchs are in power. The reason why relatives and eunuchs were able to control the power of the court was precisely because the emperor was too young when he came to the throne and had to need others to help him govern. In this case, the eunuch and the queen mother's family were the only options. Since the resurgence of Emperor Guangguo Luxiu, there have been a total of 14 emperors. From the time when the fourth Han He Emperor Lu Zhao came to the throne at the age of 10 until Emperor Xian Luxia was killed by Li Eryu, no one was over 15 years old when he came to the throne. Among them, Han Shang Emperor Lu Long became emperor when he was just 1 month old. He fell ill and died in 8 months, becoming the youngest emperor in history. The reason why the Eastern Han dynasty was rich in so-called son emperors was because their previous emperor died too early. Starting from the death of Hanzhong Emperor Lu Jin at the age of 31, every subsequent emperor died under the age of 35. Because they died too early, their sons had to succeed to the throne at a young age, and their young succession led to their relatives taking power, causing the dynasty to decay, forming a vicious cycle. Therefore, all the officials of the Dragon Kingdom were afraid that if Lu Fenggang remained childless, he might have a son in the future and the prince would succeed to the throne at a young age, repeating the old path of the Eastern Han dynasty. Because of this, they have to worry. Even not only Guojia and others, but also Zhou Yu, Chen Gong, and Jia Su, who were not Lu Feng's direct descendants, were also prepared to persuade Lu Feng if he refused to choose a concubine after Guojia's advice. Fortunately, Lu Feng still had a certain understanding of this era, so he agreed directly. Subsequently, the edict for selecting the concubine was announced to the world, and all young women who thought they had the ability to become the Dragon Emperor's concubine actively signed up to participate. Among them, Zhen Yi, the Minister of Commerce, was even more excited. He wanted to marry his daughter to Lu Feng as early as when Lu Feng was still the king of Liaodong. He even specially asked his eldest daughter Zhenjiang to stay in Longcheng and serve as the person in charge of the Zhen family's business department in Longcheng. The purpose was to let her marry Lu Feng. Feng Duo contacts. However, because Lu Feng has been busy with the war and Zhen Yi did not have a good opportunity to raise the matter, the two parties never had the opportunity to marry. Now that Lu Feng decided to choose a concubine, Zhen Yi immediately signed up all 4 of his daughters. Finally, after 2 months of preparation, the Dragon Kingdom's first concubine draft was held grandly in the capital, Luoyang. In addition to the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng, the concubines were selected by the Dragon Queen Lu Xian, the virtuous concubine Cai Yan and her father Cai Yang, the charming concubine Diao Chan, and the wolf concubine Lu Linqi, a total of 6 people. As the current good match for the Dragon Emperor, the Dragon Queen and the 3 dragon concubines have the obligation to choose concubines for the Dragon Emperor. As Lu Feng's elder and a great scholar of the time, Cai Yang mainly examines the candidate's virtues and ensures the stability of the harem. In the end, after 2 days of selection, a total of 7 concubines were selected, namely Xiao Jiao from Jiangnan, Mi Huan from the Mi family in Suzhou, and the 4 daughters of Zhen Yi, the minister of the Ministry of Commerce. Later, Lu Feng named De Jiao and Xiao Jiao the twin concubines of the world, and named Mi Huan and the 4 sisters of the Zhen family beauties. After the draft, Lu Feng chose an auspicious day to marry the 7 beauties into the harem. On that day, the entire 14 states of the Dragon Kingdom celebrated with great excitement. Another month later, Lu Feng felt that although the Dragon Kingdom had unified the world, there was still a relative lack of talents in various departments in the country, and many of the famous ministers and generals he knew in his previous life were not serving under him. So after the morning court ended one day, Lu Feng kept 6 super counselors, Guoqia, Sun Yu, 11's He Zhou Yu, Jia Su, and Su Shu. Later, Lu Feng first said everyone, you are my most important ministers. When there is war, I need your advice. Now that the world is peaceful, I need you to work hard for the development of the Dragon Kingdom. In this regard, I deeply feel that you have worked hard for the stability of the Dragon Kingdom, and I am both happy and guilty in my heart. I am happy that you are loyal to me, but I feel guilty that I have made you work so hard and hurt your body. Therefore, I have decided to organize a nationwide election will be held to select all talents from various places. The scribes can serve as your deputies to help you share the pressure, and the generals can also guard the border for me after. Lu Feng finished speaking, the six of them looked at each other, and then Sun Yu said, Your Majesty's idea is very good. There are indeed many talented people living in the wilderness and hiding in the mountains. As the right Prime Minister, I am responsible for domestic government affairs and the responsibility of selecting talents. When I return, I will immediately issue an order to the states to appoint a state pastor. Elect Xiaolian. After Sun Yu finished speaking, Lu Feng interrupted, If Wenruo waits a moment, I actually have some different ideas about selecting talents. In the past, the election of Xiaolian relied purely on the performance of various states, prefectures, pastors, and governors. Recommendation will inevitably make many talented people, especially those from poor families, unable to serve the country. Therefore, I decided to reform the system of talent selection, cancel the recommendation system and the recruitment system, and replace them all with imperial examinations. After hearing this, Sun Yu asked doubtfully, Your Majesty, what is the imperial examination? Lu Feng replied, The imperial examination is divided into the imperial examination. Regardless of the family or the poor, anyone who wants to become an official can take the exam. The results will be given by professionals. Those with excellent results can become officials. And the better the performance, the greater the official position. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 333. Take the test. Sun Yu and others were all stunned after hearing Lu Feng's words. They did not expect that Lu Feng would come up with such a method to select talents, but as long as this method is implemented, it will definitely select truly talented people. 11G Then he hurriedly asked, I wonder how to take the imperial examination that Your Majesty mentioned. After all, there are countless talented students in the world. Almost all children from aristocratic families in all states and counties will participate. In addition, there are many students from poor families who think they have learned many classics. I am afraid that organizing the assessment will not be easy. In addition, because there were too many people participating, the final evaluation results may not be achieved overnight if we, together with all the serving scribes such as Gongda, Zongd, Yuanhao, etc., are added together. 11's He is a super counselor after all. As soon as Lu Feng finished speaking, he found out the shortcomings of the imperial examination. But since Lu Feng proposed it, he was naturally prepared. Besides, this imperial examination system has been used for hundreds of years in previous lives. Its model has long been fixed, so Lu Feng only needs to make simple modifications according to the situation of Long Kingdom. So Lu Feng explained, I have naturally considered what He is worried about, and will not let all the students from all over the world participate in the assessment in Luoyang. Because there must be a large number of students taking the exam, I decided to divide the imperial examination into 4 stages: county examination, state examination, and palace examination. First of all, anyone who wants to take the exam can only register in the county where their household registration is located, and the county magistrate of each county serves as the examiner and is responsible for organizing the county-level preliminary exam. The top 3 in the preliminary examination become scholars and can enter the next stage of the county examination, that is, the scholars from the counties under the jurisdiction of a county gather in the county to take the examination. The prefect of the county takes the exam, and the other county officials serve as deputy examiners. The first person in the county examination is named Jiwan, and the second and third place names are Yewan. The three of them enter the next round of state examination together, that is, Jiwan and Yewan in all counties under the jurisdiction of a state take the exam together. Examined by the state pastor. The first place in the state examination is named Huiwen, and he will go to Luoyang together with the second and third place to take part in the palace examination in the palace. I will personally preside over the examination, and all officials in the court can serve as deputy examiners. The top 3 candidates in the palace examination will directly enter the imperial court to hold important positions. Among them, the first place in the palace examination will be the number 1 scholar, the second place will be the second place, and the third place will be the third flower. In addition, the imperial examination will not only test literature. If you want to serve as a civil servant, you need to take examination subjects in addition to literature, including military, strategy, governance and other subjects. If you want to serve as a general, you also need to start from the county examination. Riding, archery, formation, strategy, and your best weapon combat are all subjects that need to be tested. In addition, whether it is a palace examination, a state examination, a county examination, or a county examination, I will set the examination questions together with you all, and then print them according to the number of applicants. 3 days before the examination, the Red Blood Dragon riders will personally deliver them to each county. And before the exam, no one is allowed to see the questions in advance except the person who asked the questions. The questions before the exam are supervised and kept by the Scarlet Blood Dragon rider. This can ensure the confidentiality of the test questions, and the unified setting of questions can also ensure that candidates from all over the country take the same questions, making the imperial examination more fair. After Lu Feng finished speaking, Guoqia, Sun Yu and others were completely shocked by Lu Feng's imperial examination system. This was a way of selecting talents that subverted their previous knowledge. In the end, no matter whether they were civil servants or military generals, as long as those who can become the top 3 in the palace examination must be very strong and comprehensive talents. However, although everyone was very surprised, this system was thought up by Lu Feng and everyone felt that it was reasonable and reasonable. After all, from Longguo Fine Wine to Rice Paper, to Dragon City the daily newspaper and the 2 novels were both created by Lu Feng. He has shown too many things that subvert everyone's thinking, so it seems that only Lu Feng's idea of a euro this almost perfect imperial examination system can make everyone think it is normal. But Guoqia raised another question, that is, how to prevent county magistrates, county guards and state pastors from practicing favoritism, accepting bribes or allowing their own children to advance. In this regard, Lu Feng said this is relatively simple, since everyone the top 3 in each exam will advance to the next round, so the examiners of the next round can naturally supervise the candidates. If the ability of the candidates who advance is mediocre, or the second and third place candidates are obviously more capable than the first and second place candidates, then the examiner of this round can send someone to the examination room of the previous round for inspection. If there is indeed evidence of favoritism and malpractice in the last round of examinations, not only will the candidates' results and future examination qualifications be cancelled, but the examiner who violated the rules will also be removed from office. If, until the palace examination stage, I and other officials believe that the ability of the candidates who have been promoted is relatively poor, I will personally send people to inspect them step by step. If there are any violations, everyone from the county magistrate to the county guard to the state pastor will be removed from office. In this way, the occurrence of collusion between officials and candidates and the occurrence of favoritism and malpractice can be eliminated to the greatest extent. After listening to Lu Feng's explanation, Guoqia immediately praised, "Your Majesty is wise. If you really follow this method, not only will the top pick, second pick, and others selected be absolutely all-round talents, but they can also supervise officials at all levels. From now on, our Dragon Kingdom will definitely become stronger and stronger. After Guojia finished speaking, Sun Yu, Zhou Yu and others also agreed with Guojia's views. Then Lu Feng ordered Sun Yu to be responsible for conveying the rules of the imperial examination to the states, counties, and to set the time for the first imperial examination in the county. 2 months later. In the morning of the next day, Lu Feng told the officials about the imperial examination, which caused a sensation again. A few days later, Sun Yu compiled the details of the entire imperial examination and showed them to Lu Feng. After confirmation, it was distributed to states, counties, and officials at all levels began to prepare after receiving the task of the imperial examination. In the next 2 months, preparations for the imperial examination were in full swing in the Dragon Kingdom, and students from all over the country, both wealthy families and students from poor families, were very excited about it. 2 months later, the first imperial examination of Long Kingdom officially began, with tens of thousands of people taking the exam. After nearly a month of screening, the 14 state civil servants were finally selected. 42 candidates each came to Luoyang to take part in the final palace examination. In the end, after the palace examination, the top 3 candidates in the civil examination were Zhuliang, the champion of the Golden Dragon, Sima Yi, the second winner of the Golden Dragon, and Pang Tong, the third winner of the Golden Dragon. Their scores were also very high. Close. Looking at these 3 people, Lu Feng was also very emotional. The future Wolong, Chifeng, and Zhonghu actually appeared in the same imperial examination. As for the top 3 in the martial arts examination, they were the number 1 scholar Huangzhong, the second place Zhou Tai, exploring Lu Meng. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 334. Lu Feng was also very emotional about the top 3 in the martial arts competition. The number 1 scholar, Huangzhong, was nearly 50 years old, but Lu Feng knew Huangzhong's ability well. Before this, the only famous general in the 3 Kingdoms military force that he was familiar with in his previous life was Huangzhong, who had not yet appeared. After capturing Jingzhou, Lu Feng sent people to look for Huangzhong, but unfortunately he was not found. Unexpectedly, he actually took the martial arts exam directly, which was definitely an unexpected surprise for Lu Feng. And compared with the almost negligible score difference between Zhuliang, Sima Yi, and Pang Tong in the civil examination, Huangzhong's Wu champion can be said to be the best, leading the second place Zhou Tai to win the champion with a huge advantage. Lu Feng also admired Zhou Tai and Lu Meng very much. In the history of previous lives, Zhou Tai, as Sun Quan's bodyguard, repeatedly rescued Sun Quan on the battlefield. It can be said that without Zhou Tai, Sun Quan would have died several times. As the third governor of Suqiao, Lu Meng was both talented in both civil and military affairs. He was obsessed with martial arts in his early years. After being taught by Sun Quan, he began to read poetry and books, and was later admired by Lu Su. Of the 3 people in the civil examination, Zhuliang scored highest in governance and literature, Sima Yi ranked first in military affairs, and Pang Tong scored highest in strategy. As for the 3 people who competed in the martial arts competition, La 1/4 Meng scored the highest in strategy and command. Unfortunately, he lost more points in force and archery, so he ranked 3rd. However, Huangzhong's archery and martial arts far exceeded others, and even the examiner Tai Shisai was no match for him. Finally, based on the achievements of several people, Lu Feng asked Wolong Zhuliang to follow Sun Yu, the right prime minister, as the prime minister and assist Sun Yu in handling the government affairs of the Dragon Kingdom. Let Sima Yi, the Tomb Tiger, follow the left prime minister Guojia and serve as the chief minister of the left, assisting Guojia in handling the military affairs of the Dragon Kingdom. Let Chifeng Pangtong follow 11's Hike and serve as the deputy head of the military aircraft pavilion, assisting 11's Hike in managing the national army. Judging from Huang Zhong's performance, he is already a super general. With his strength, he can even rank among the top 5 generals in the Dragon Kingdom except Lu Feng. However, because Huang Zhong had no military exploits for the time being, Lu Feng had to temporarily arrange a position as a partial general for him, and he would have to immediately transfer him to a full-time position after he achieved meritorious service. Zhou Tai and Lu Meng temporarily served as deputy generals of Dian Wei and Zhao Yun, working under them. Subsequently, the Dragon Kingdom went through more than a year of rest and recuperation. The domestic economy became more stable and the people's lives became better and better. After the work of the farmers who had switched jobs, the Dragon Kingdom's food piled up like mountains. So one morning at court, Lu Feng said to the officials, now the Dragon Kingdom has become more and more stable, and its national strength has reached its strongest period since Daoding settled the 9 provinces. But although China has been pacified, this in addition to us, China, there are many other empires in the world, including the Japanese kingdom in the east, the Kushan Empire and the Roman Empire in the west, etc. Therefore, I decided to send an army on an expedition to divide the entire world into the territory of the Dragon Kingdom. Subsequently, Lu Feng sent Taishi Ci, Zhang Liao, Zhang He, and Su Huang among the 5 tiger generals of the Dragon Kingdom to lead their respective legions, with Chen Gong, Sun Yu, Zhe Xiao, and Chen Deng as military advisors respectively. With the Dragon Kingdom as the center, they marched to the east, west, north, and south. Fight in 4 directions to expand the Dragon Kingdom's territory. Gao Shun led his army to guard the Dragon Kingdom. Among them, Taishi Ci led the Longbowman and his 50,000-strong army to attack the Parthian Empire in the west. Zhang Liao led his 50,000-strong army, and Huang Zhong, the top military scholar, set out to the north, annihilating various foreign tribes along the way and fighting all the way to the Roman Empire. Zhang He led his 50,000-strong army to the east to attack Japanese islands, while Su Huang led 50,000 troops to attack south. Among these 4 armies, the 2 armies of Taishi Ci and Zhang Liao had the most arduous tasks. The Persian cavalry of the Parthian Empire were extremely brave and almost unrivaled across the Eurasian continent. However, the Longbowmen led by Taishi Ci were the enemies of the Persian cavalry, so Lu Feng gave this most difficult task to Taishi Ci. Zhang Liao's army had to face the Roman Empire, the overlord of Europe. Although the Roman army was powerful in combat, they were far from Zhang Liao and Sun Yu's opponents in terms of strategy. As for the Japanese country that Zhang He attacked, they were originally a group of uncivilized peoples and were still in a period of division. The Gano Kingdom and the Yamatai Kingdom were in conflict with each other from the north to the south and attacked each other. In less than a year, Zhang He's 50,000-strong army pacified the Japanese island and killed all the Japanese people without leaving a single life. As for Su Huang's army heading south to attack countless small countries, they were all no match for Su Huang's army. A year later, after Zhang He and Su Huang pacified all the small foreign tribes in the east and south of Long Kingdom, they led their armies to support Zhang Liao and Taishi Ci respectively. At the same time, Lu Feng ordered the Jinpeng army, which had expanded to hundreds of birds, to travel between the Dragon Kingdom and the major front lines to transport military supplies or strategic support. After several years, the Dragon Kingdom's army slaughtered millions of foreigners and soldiers from major empires. The arrogant Parthian Empire, Kushan Empire, Roman Empire, and other countries that dominated Asia and Europe all surrendered to the Dragon Kingdom. At the same time, after the Dragon Kingdom army massacred millions of aliens, the job-changing elf also said in Lu Feng's mind, "Congratulations, Master, on getting a 1,000,000 kill gift package. Do you want to open it?" As for the gift package for killing monsters, Lu Feng never refuses, and immediately asked the job transfer elf to open the gift bag, and from the gift bag came out the supreme treasure space door and a mini golden dragon of luck. Naturally, Lu Feng didn't know the use of these two treasures, so he asked Transfer Elf, "What are the uses of the Space Gate and the Luck Golden Dragon?" The voice of the Transfer Elf immediately remembered the Luck Golden Dragon is this kind of treasure can improve the luck of the country, allowing the master and all the officials in your court to enjoy varying degrees of luck blessing, thereby greatly increasing the speed of cultivation. And the higher the official position, the easier the cultivation will be. And you, Master, as the Emperor of the Dragon Kingdom, after integrating the Golden Dragon of Luck, you can enjoy the blessing of the whole country's luck. And as long as the empire's territory is larger and the national power is stronger, the luck can improve faster. As for the Gate of Time and Space, it can a treasure that allows the owner to travel freely through various parallel worlds. After the Transfer Elf finished speaking, Lu Feng was immediately overjoyed. With the help of the Transfer Elf, he integrated the Luck Golden Dragon into the National Jade Seal. For a moment, the heaven and earth shook, and the Dragon Kingdom was promoted. For the Shenlong dynasty. All officials in the dynasty enjoy varying degrees of luck blessing. Under the blessing of luck, the speed of cultivation is greatly increased. As the emperor of the Shenlong dynasty, Lu Feng enjoys the blessing of luck from all over the country. He can also incorporate the Golden Dragon of Luck into his body to protect his body with luck, making it invulnerable to all means. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 335. With the blessing of the Shenlong dynasty's luck, it only took Dragon Emperor Lu Feng a month to gain enough experience and undergo his 7th job transfer, becoming a rank 7 general, comparable to the Supreme Tiger General. Supreme Tiger General, this is the achievement that only one person has been able to achieve since ancient times, and that is the legendary ancient god, Qi Yu, the co-lord of July and the god of war. It's just that Qi Yu is not just a Supreme Tiger General. His military power has reached the level of an invincible god general comparable to that of a 9th level general. He is a person with the highest level in the history of China. At the same time, it is also the only legend that Lu Feng currently needs to look up to. It can be said that after becoming the Supreme Tiger General, Lu Feng has become a legendary military general second only to Qi Yu. Even if we look at the history of later generations, he will be unmatched by anyone except Qi Yu. After becoming the Supreme Tiger General, Lu Feng announced the next arrangements for the Shenlong dynasty in a morning meeting. First of all, Lu Feng appointed Jia Su and 11's He as the new left and right prime ministers of the Shenlong Empire respectively. Jia Su succeeded Guo Jia and was in charge of the military affairs of the Shenlong Empire. 11's He succeeded Sun Yu in charge of government affairs. Zhou Yu entered the military machine pavilion to take over the charge of 11's He. Shenlong Empire Army. At the same time, Zhuge Liang, Sima Yi, and Pang Tong continued to maintain their original positions and assisted the three newly appointed leaders to complete the handover and familiarize themselves with the new work as soon as possible. Later, Lu Feng named Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Lu Buletin, Ma Chao, and Huang Zhong as generals of the front, middle, rear and left and right, and handed over Taishi Ci's longbowmen to Commander Huang Zhong and Qin Rui to Taishi Ci. Everyone was very puzzled by Lu Feng's series of appointments. However, Lu Feng did not leave everyone confused for too long. He explained to the officials, dear friends, you all know that not long ago, when Yuan, Zi and other 5 tiger armies pacified the world and came from all directions. From then on, the territory of the Shenlong Empire has covered every corner of the world, and they killed more than 1 million foreign soldiers during the campaign, so I got a 1 million kill gift pack from the job transfer hall. There are 2 artifacts in it, one is the Golden Dragon of Luck, which I have integrated into the Jade Seal of the Kingdom. Everyone, whether civil servants or military generals, has received the blessing of the luck of the Dragon Kingdom, making cultivation easier. Everyone knows this. In addition, the second artifact that was opened was the Gate of Space and Time. In order to ensure the continuous flow of luck to the Shenlong Empire, We must conquer the world and continuously expand the territory of the Dragon Kingdom, so I decided to lead the army through the gate of space to the future world to continue. Feng Xiao and Wenruo went with me as military advisors, so Wen He and Zhe took over their positions. As for the generals, I only brought Zilong, Dian Wei, Feng Xian, Meng Qi, and Han promoted to 5 people. After I leave, the 2 prime ministers will be solely responsible for all matters of the Dragon Kingdom. All decisions need to be discussed together by the 2 prime ministers and must be stamped with the seals of the left and right prime ministers at the same time to take effect. Then Lu Feng, he also explained to all the officials about other possible matters. After confirming that there were no problems, Lu Feng announced the disbandment of the dynasty, leaving only Jiesu and 11's He Zhou and the 7 people who need to accompany him on the expedition. After everyone dispersed, Lu Feng said to Jiesu, 11's He and Zhou who were left behind after I leave, everything will be handed over to the 3 of you. The 5 Tigers Army, Jinfan Army and others can be of great use, so we must ensure that the stability of the Dragon Kingdom. After listening to Lu Feng's words, Jiesu and the other 3 people immediately bowed and said, Your Majesty, please rest assured that we will live up to your Majesty's high expectations. After explaining all the matters, Lu Feng said to Zhao Yun and the other 5 people, we can a Euro trademark T bring many troops to the future world this time. I can only bring 3,000 red-blooded dragon riders. Zilong a Euro trademark S white horse Yi Kong, Dianhui a Euro trademark S dragon warriors, Feng Xian a Euro trademark S Bingzhou wolf riders, and Menqi a Euro trademark S Dragon City. The cavalry and Han Sheng's longbowmen are all the troops you can bring. In addition, Feng Xiao and Wenruo, I will give you 2 5,000 Dragon Kingdom soldiers to protect your safety. In fact, the day before, in the evening, Lu Feng had decided to use the space gate to travel to the future and continue fighting, so he had asked the job transfer elf to help open the key to the space gate. Because the space that can be traversed is random, the first time you pass the end of the space gate is the Sui and Tang dynasties. Therefore, as a time traveler, Lu Feng briefly introduced the social background of the Sui and Tang dynasties to Guoqia, Zhao Yun, and other 7 people. Lu Feng said, I learned from the information from the transfer hall that after passing through the gate of space, we arrive at a parallel world that has a certain connection with the world we are in now. In that world, it is equivalent to our current 400 years later. The difference is that I did not establish the Dragon Kingdom in that world. After the death of Emperor Ling, Dongzhou came to Beijing to control the government. Then the 18 princes except me attacked Dongzhou, but without my participation, Dongzhou succeeded. Fleeing to Chang'an, the coalition of princes disbanded. After subsequent changes, Feng Xian killed Dongzhou, and still separated and established itself as before, except that Emperor Xian of the Han dynasty did not die. Although all the princes were separated, they were all Han ministers in name. Then Cao will when the emperor received such aim, he was ordered by the emperor to disobey Yuan Shao, confront Yuan Shao, destroy Yuan Shao, and unify the north. After that, Sun Ce died, Sun Quan separatized Jiangdong, and Liu Bei still entered Yizhu. Cao, Liu Bei, and Sun Quan had been standing in a tripartite position for decades. After his death, none of his descendants were strong enough. Cao's counselor, Sima Yi, who is now under Wen He, became a powerful official in Wei. Sima Yi's son usurped Wei and established himself, and destroyed Shu and Wu to unify the world. But it only passed after the Jin dynasty was overthrown for more than 100 years. Many foreign races such as Xianbei took the opportunity to invade the Central Plains and massacred the Han people. They fought in chaos on the land of the Central Plains for more than 100 years. This is why I hate the foreign races so much and must kill all the foreigners. The reason? This troubled time lasted for more than 100 years, until a man named Yang Jian once again unified the Central Plains and established the Great Sui Empire. But just over 30 years later, Yang Guang, the son of Yang Jian, led to uprisings in various places because of his excessive conquests, excessive wealth, and ignorance. Once again fell into various separatist regimes. After a chaotic war, a group of people named Li finally took over the world and established the Tang dynasty. What we are going to this time is the period in the last years of the Sui dynasty, when the whole country rose up, and we must fight for Lita Euro trademark S establish the Dragon Kingdom again in that world. Lufenga Euro trademark S words made everyone excited, and they all expressed their determination to show off their talents. However, when Lu Feng saw how excited everyone was, he reminded him, don't be too happy too early. It is said that many of the Sui and Tang generals' weapons weighed more than 100 or even hundreds of kilograms. Although it may be a boast, it cannot be said. Take it lightly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 336. After hearing Lu Feng's words, everyone was shocked at first, and then Dian Wei took the lead and said, Your Majesty, don't let other people's ambitions destroy your own prestige. With the luck blessing of the Luck Golden Dragon, the speed of our cultivation is increasing rapidly, and Feng Xian is infinitely far away. The war general is only one step away, and I, Liadian and Zilong, have already reached the peak of peerlessness. Even Meng Qi and Han Sheng will soon reach the peerless realm, so even if they are powerful, we are not vegetarians. Dian Wei. His words were recognized by Lu Buletin and the other 5 people, so Lu Feng smiled, said no more, and asked everyone to go back and prepare to enter the space gate and go to the Sui and Tang dynasties early tomorrow morning. A euro. At the end of the Sui dynasty, Yang Huang was mediocre and ignorant, and rebels all over the world rose up one after another. Among them, Yangzhou has become the most prosperous area of a euro the Sui Empire after hundreds of years of development. And unlike Yangzhou in the Eastern Han dynasty, which was a state, Yangzhou in the Sui dynasty has developed into a city. Moreover, the Sui dynasty established its capital in Daxing City, which was Chang'an in the Han dynasty, and made Luoyang the companion capital, the eastern capital. Yangzhou was deeply loved by Emperor Yang Guang of the Sui dynasty because of its location in the water town of the south of the Yangtze River, and positioned it as the third capital, the Jiangdu. However, it is precisely because of Yangzhou's prosperity that since the rebel armies from all walks of life rose up, Yangzhou has become a battleground for various families. Because many forces have been eyeing Yangzhou, the Yangzhou City Guard has to go to the city in person almost every day to inspect the defense situation of the soldiers guarding the city to prevent anyone from slacking off. On this day, clouds suddenly gathered in the mountains 50 miles outside Yangzhou City. After a strong flash of light, an army of more than 20,000 people appeared in the mountains. This army is the Dragon Kingdom army led by Dragon Emperor Lu Feng and his generals from the front, center, back, left, and right, who have traveled through the gate of time and space. Because the Sui dynasty and the Eastern Han dynasty went through more than 400 years of historical changes, both the terrain, the population, and the city divisions have undergone tremendous changes. Therefore, before entering the gate of time and space, Lu Feng specifically asked for a job transfer elf. A map of the Sui dynasty. And after traveling through time, the job-changing elves appeared in front of Lu Feng and everyone, pointed out their location to Lu Feng on the map, and then disappeared. Lu Feng first ordered his soldiers to disperse and guard the surrounding areas. Then he called Guoqia, Sun Yu, and the 5 generals to look at the map with them and analyze the next direction. But after looking at it for a while, Sun Yu said, Your Majesty, we don't know much about the development and power distribution of the Sui dynasty, so it's up to you to make the decision. Lu Feng didn't force himself after hearing this, and said, When if you are right, then the first stop will be decided by me. In addition, we have already arrived in the Sui and Tang dynasties, and are not within the scope of the Shenlong Empire for the time being. The world is still waiting for us to establish the Dragon Kingdom, so please don't a Euro trademark T call me your majesty yet. Let's call him Lord. Naturally, everyone had no objection to Lu Feng's words. Then Lu Feng looked at the map for a while, pointed to one of the places and said, we are lucky. This place is only more than 50 miles away from Yangzhou, the capital of the Sui dynasty. This Yangzhou has developed into a city in the Sui dynasty, and it can be said that it was the richest and most prosperous city in the Sui dynasty. We can just take advantage of the fact that no one in this world knows about it when we first arrived in this world, capture Yangzhou and use Yangzhou as the foundation to conquer the world. What do you think? Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 337. Naturally, no one had any doubts about Lu Feng's words, so Lu Feng ordered, okay, in that case, Dian Wei, I order you to be the vanguard and lead my troops to attack Yangzhou city. Try to eliminate the Yangzhou defenders as much as possible before my main army arrives. Military. Don't worry, my lord, I promise to complete the mission. Dian Wei responded and immediately set off for Yangzhou city with the Dragon City cavalry. Originally, the vanguard force was supposed to send cavalry, but because the cavalry was not suitable for attacking the city, Lu Feng had to order Dian Wei to lead the Longwu soldiers as the vanguard. Fortunately, although Longwu soldiers were infantry, their marching speed was no slower than that of cavalry. Not long after, the defenders on Yangzhou city suddenly shouted, General, General, look! Is that a troop of troops approaching us in front? The Yangzhou guard heard the soldier's words and hurriedly looked in the direction he pointed. Sure enough, it was a group of soldiers and horses. Although it looked like there were only 2,000 or 3,000 people, they were marching very fast. The Yangzhou guard thought in his mind. After a while, he found that the Sui army was not dressed like this, and immediately shouted, enemy attack! Enemy attack! Close the city gate quickly! Creak! After a hurried operation by the defenders, the city gate was finally closed before the group of fully armed heavy armored infantry arrived. The defenders on the city breathed a sigh of relief. Although the other party was there are only 3,000 infantrymen. Secondly, the armor on these infantrymen seems to be 3 layers thick, weighing more than 100 kilograms at least. They will definitely not be able to attack the city, so closing the city gate should not matter. Then, Dian Wei and his 3,000 dragon warriors stopped about 50 steps outside the city, and shouted to the defenders on the city, I am Dian Wei, the general of the Shenlong Empire's Central Army. Dian Wei is here. Why don't you hurry up and start? If the city surrenders, I can still spare your lives. Otherwise, don't a Euro trademark T blame me for going on a killing spree after breaking the city. The Dragon Empire, when did this appear? Although the Yangzhou guard heard Dian Wei's name, he did not associate him with Cao's once most powerful general, and the Shenlong Empire did not sound like a serious country. However, this guard was a feudal lord of the Sui dynasty. How could a big official be happy when Dian Wei pointed his nose at him and yelled at him about going on a killing spree? So he immediately shouted angrily, where did you come from, an ugly man, who dares to act wild in front of this general? I think you are impatient with life, archer, shoot that ignorant bastard into a hedgehog. The Yangzhou garrison gave the order, and the archers on the city wall immediately drew their bows and set arrows, and launched an attack on Dian Wei and Long Wu. But in the face of the flying arrows, Dian Wei coldly snorted and waved his black iron sword. The halberd general flew away, the arrows flying towards him one by one, and the dragon soldiers did not make any move. The bows and arrows could not penetrate their armor at all. The Yangzhou guard was shocked when he saw this, but before he could give the next order, and then heard Dian Wei shouting, Longwu soldiers, fight back. As soon as Dian Wei finished speaking, Long Wushu took off the 12-stone crossbow hanging from his waist and launched a series of shots at the defenders on the city wall. The power of the 12-stone crossbow was astonishing, especially in this short period of time. Within 50 steps, the crossbow arrows were like cannonballs. The defenders on the city had no time to react, and many people were shot directly through their bodies. The 2,000 archers in Yangzhou city were lost in just an instant. More than half. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 338. Facing such powerful firepower from Long Liuzhu, the Yangzhou garrison was speechless. He was obviously the archer, but he didn't expect that he didn't kill the opponent, but instead shot most of the men to death. The guard general immediately angrily said to the deputy general next to him, Vice General Li, you should immediately lead 20,000 troops out of the city to meet the enemy. Be sure to kill all 3,000 of them. As for the big black man, capture those who can be alive. If you can't catch them, chop them into pieces. Faced with such an angry order from the defender, Lieutenant General Li could understand. After all, he thought that as soon as the city gate was closed, the opponent would be unable to attack the city and they would disperse immediately. I didn't expect that these 3,000 heavy armored infantry would be so difficult to deal with. The power of the hand crossbow was so huge that it could even shoot through several people in a row. Vice General Li took the order and left. Seeing this, the defenders on the city were about to raise their heads to take a look at the battle outside the city, but saw the infantrymen raising their crossbows again. They were so frightened that they quickly retracted their heads. These soldiers had just seen the power of the dragon soldiers, and they hid under the city wall without waiting for the guard's order and did not dare to raise their heads. However, some of them were shot through the city wall by the crossbow arrows and were killed immediately afterwards. With a roar, the city gate opened, and Vice General Li led 20,000 Yangzhou cavalry out of the city and charged towards the 3,000 heavy armored infantry. The opponent only had 3,000 men, but he dispatched 20,000. The opponent was infantry, but he sent cavalry. Regardless of the strength of the troops or the mutual restraint between the arms, both Yangzhou defender and Lieutenant General Li felt that this battle would be won. The guard general even cursed himself in his heart. The opponent only has 3,000 infantry. Why am I so cowardly? I just let Lieutenant General Li lead 20,000 troops to rush out of the city and kill them. It would be better if this were not the case. Hubei lost nearly 1,000 archers. At this time, the guard of Yangzhou cursed himself on the city wall for being cowardly and stupid, but he did not know that the 20,000 cavalry he had just sent would soon become dragon soldiers. A stepping stone to fame. Dian Wei looked at Lieutenant General Li, who was leading the army to charge, and shouted, well done. Long warriors, line up to resist the enemy's cavalry. After Dian Wei finished speaking, he immediately held up a pair of black iron halberds and was excited. Rush towards Lieutenant General Li. At the same time, the dragon soldiers were still arranged in 3 rows as before when facing the cavalry. The soldiers in the first row inserted their huge shields on the ground at an angle of 45 degrees and supported them with halberds. At the same time, they squatted on the ground. Resist under the shield. The soldiers in the second row stretched out their halberds diagonally from the gap between the shields, and the back end was also inserted into the ground as a support. The soldiers in the third row held hand crossbows, aimed at the oncoming cavalry through the gap, and pulled the triggers mercilessly to start shooting. The crossbow arrows were like poisonous snakes that preyed on people, whistling and shooting at the Yangzhou cavalry. Only a series of muffled sounds of puff, puff, puff were heard. Each crossbow arrow penetrated the bodies of 4 or 5 cavalry. With screams, the Yangzhou cavalry fell to the ground one after another. After hearing the screams, the defenders on the city dared to stand up and observe the situation below the city. However, as soon as they got up, they saw a scene that shocked them. Lieutenant General Li, who was originally the most powerful among the Yangzhou defenders, died under his halberd without catching the big black man's move. At this time, they were looking at the strong man who looked like a black iron tower, and they were all a little more afraid. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 339. Not only did Vice General Li have the highest military force among the Yangzhou garrison, but no one in the entire Yangzhou city could take 10 moves from him without losing. But it was Lieutenant General Li who was so powerful. After rushing towards the big black man, he raised his sword and slashed the Huashan mountain with one move from top to bottom. However, the big black man casually raised an iron halberd on his head with his left hand, blocking Lieutenant General Li's powerful and heavy move. Then, without stopping, he took another iron halberd with his right hand and slashed at Lieutenant General Li's waist. Perhaps he didn't expect that the big black man could easily block his own power blow with one hand, which made Lieutenant General Li a little distracted. Perhaps because his full force blow was missed, Lieutenant General Li was shocked and suffered internal injuries. All in all, when faced with the big black man's chop in the waist, Lieutenant General Li didn't react at all and was directly chopped in the waist by the big black man. Lieutenant General Li's blood flowed all over the floor along with his internal organs and intestines. That scene frightened the defenders on the city, and several of them with poor psychological quality couldn't help but hold onto the city wall and vomited. Lieutenant General Li died tragically, and the 20,000 cavalrymen did not take any advantage. After the 2 rounds of Longwu soldiers shooting, nearly 5,000 of these cavalrymen fell to the ground and could not get up. However, they finally rushed to the Longwu soldiers. The cavalrymen they wanted to use the momentum of the war horses to reopen the defense line of the dragon warriors, but they seemed to hit a wall. The shield line of the dragon warriors remained motionless, but almost all of their horses were killed. But this is not over yet. Even those who are lucky enough not to be killed will be stabbed to death by the halberd protruding from the gap in the shield. As the cavalry in front collided with Longwu's defense line and were killed, the cavalry in the rear had no time to stop and fell into chaos. As soon as the cavalry's charge stopped, the dragon warriors also put away their formations, took out their halberds and began to massacre the cavalry. Dian Wei, who had killed Lieutenant General Li, also joined the dragon warriors. Under the leadership of Dian Wei, Longwu's soldiers were like bull-headed and horse-faced beasts coming out of the underworld to seek their lives, killing the Yangzhou cavalry without the ability to fight back. There was a cavalryman in the rear who wanted to use the momentum of the horse to hit Dian Wei to death, but Dian Wei put away his halberds and punched the horse on the head with all his strength. He was beaten until he fell to the ground. When the defenders on the city saw this, they were all shocked. This man actually killed a galloping horse with one punch without being injured at all. How much strength does this require? At this time, Lu Feng's main army finally arrived. He ordered Ma Chao to lead the Longcheng cavalry to surround and kill the remaining Yangzhou cavalry, while Dian Wei led the Longwu soldiers to attack the city. After Dian Wei heard Lu Feng's order, he immediately led the dragon warriors to Yangzhou city. Then, the 3,000 dragon warriors headed by Dian Wei all came from the waist. He took the next iron hook tied with an iron chain, danced it twice in his hand and threw it up the city wall. After the iron hook hooked the wall stack, everyone pulled hard, and the sharp hook sank deeply into it. Then everyone held the iron chain with both hands and jumped into the air, stepping on the city wall with their feet to climb up quickly. Upon seeing this, the Yangzhou garrison immediately ordered the garrison to chop at the iron chain. However, this iron chain was made before everyone set out. In order to facilitate the siege, Lu Feng specially asked the Longcheng blacksmiths to make it with special materials, and used their job transfer skills to make the iron chain extremely strong, which could not be cut by ordinary swords. In a few breaths, Dian Wei climbed up the city wall first and massacred the defenders on the city. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 340. At this time, Dian Wei was already a peerless military general. His terrifying strength was far beyond what the Yangzhou defenders could compare with. He forcibly fought his way through the siege of hundreds of defenders on the city wall and went straight to the city. The Yangzhou garrison left. Dian Wei understands the principle of shooting men first and horses first, and catching thieves first. Although these defenders of Yangzhou are not worth mentioning in front of Longwu soldiers and the entire Dragon Kingdom army, in order to save time and capture Yangzhou city as soon as possible, capturing the Yangzhou defenders is still the simplest and fastest way. The Yangzhou garrison had long seen Dian Wei's bravery and did not dare to fight with him head-on. He had to let the soldiers around him resist Dian Wei while retreating alone. However, as Dian Wei went on a killing spree on the city wall, 3,000 dragon warriors quickly climbed up. Because Dian Wei was fighting in front, they did not dare to shoot with crossbows. And because the city wall was too crowded, the Longwu soldiers carried their halberds behind their backs, pulled out the black iron heavy swords from their waists, followed Dian Wei, and charged at the Yangzhou defender. The 3 layers of heavy armor worn by the dragon soldiers were also made of black iron. They were not only thick, but also extremely strong. The weapons of the Yangzhou defenders could not break through the defense of the dragon warriors. Therefore, the dragon warriors did not defend themselves and allowed the opponent's weapons to strike at their bodies, but at the same time, the long swords in their hands would pierce into the opponent's body. 3,000 dragon warriors used Dian Wei as an arrow and chased the defender all the way. No one could stop their progress. Even in the end, the defenders of Yangzhou did not dare to step forward. When they saw Longwu soldiers coming towards them, they knelt down and surrendered. However, Longwu's target was only the garrison. He ignored these surrenders and passed them directly, and soon caught up with the Yangzhou garrison. In the end, the guard was chased to a corner. With no way to escape, he had no choice but to kneel down and surrender. Now that the general has surrendered, all the Yangzhou city defenders naturally stopped resisting. They all laid down their weapons and surrendered. At the same time, they opened the city gates to welcome this unknown force into the city. After the city gate was opened, Lu Feng did not embarrass the Yangzhou cavalry outside the city. After ordering the 5,000 ordinary soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom to collect their weapons, he led the army directly into the city. After taking Yangzhou city, Lu Feng and others had a place to stay in the Sui and Tang dynasties. Moreover, this place was also the place where the richest man in the world was, enough to feed the Dragon Kingdom's 20,000 troops. After entering the city, Lu Feng naturally moved into the city lord's palace, and asked Dian Wei and Lu Buletin to lead people to recruit the surrendered generals, while the 2 great counselors Guojia and Sun Yu, and the 3 strategic military generals Zhao Yun, Ma Chao and Huang Zhong were discussing in the palace how to take over. Countermeasures down. Sun Yu was the first to say, "My lord, since we have come to the Sui and Tang dynasties, we belong to a force that suddenly appeared from heaven with divine soldiers. Just now, Sun Yu has asked the Yangzhou garrison. Although the Sui dynasty is still there, the rebel forces from all sides are still there. They are also quite prestigious, and Yangzhou city is the place where the richest man in the south of the Yangtze River is, and has always been coveted by all forces. But it is precisely because there are so many people coveting it that whoever takes the lead is likely to be the target of public criticism, so there is no anyone who dares to attack Yangzhou city rashly is in a wait-and-see attitude. But now that we have captured Yangzhou, it is equivalent to breaking the balance, and we will inevitably be surrounded and suppressed by many forces. Therefore, if we want to gain a foothold here, we need to quickly make a name for yourself.